Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi's evolution from a lawyer to becoming the face of India's non-violent struggle for independence as the Mahatma has been written about at a great length. In this journey of a man who is regarded as the father of the nation, an integral companion was his wife Kasturiba Gandhi. Kasturiba Gandhi's name is often lost in the face of Gandhi's leadership, but she was his pillar of support. If he could convince her to give up her notions of caste and untouchability, he could convince others of the same. She was perhaps the only person who could disagree with him and point out to him his mistakes. She was his companion, his wife, his caretaker, and later in his life, a representative too. Born in 1869 in Porbandar, Kasturiba was the daughter of Gokul Das and Rajakanwar Kapadia, and she had two brothers. A leading merchant, her father was dealing in grains, cloth and cotton markets in Africa and Middle East, and at one time he was the mayor of Porbandar. The family was close friends with the family of Karamchand, the father of Mohandas Gandhi. Karamchand was the Diwan of Porbandar and married to Putali Bai. Both the set of parents cemented their friendship by marrying their children. The children were engaged at the age of 7 and the wedding was celebrated in 1882 when they were 13. In the early years of his marriage, Gandhi's attempt to control Kasturiba bore no fruit. Historian Vinay Lal writes, Kasturiba never acceded to her husband's wishes easily, and Gandhi's autobiography itself furnishes a remarkable testimony to her tendency and independence of judgment, and the sharp disagreements she came to have with him when, in the first 2 decades of their marriage, he unreasonably sought to bring her under his control. The couple had 4 sons, Harilal, Manilal, Ramdas and Devdas Gandhi. As a wife of Mahatma Gandhi, Kasturiba Gandhi's sacrifice is commendable. She opened her house to the nation and the freedom struggle and supported her husband in this effort. It would never have been easy on her. She fasted when he was in prison, gave up on things she liked, good food, her religious beliefs, even her jewelry. Most importantly, she did not object to his vow of brahmacharya. Though she was a dedicated wife, she was far from submissive. She could hold her own and did make herself heard even when Gandhi was in the receiving end. Kasturiba's handwriting was like that of a little child. She wrote each letter of the alphabet separately and spacing between the letters was irregular. Gandhi tried to improve this and advised her to practice writing. Everyone had asked for a notebook and Kasturiba also asked for one. Gandhi gave her loose sheaf of papers and told her that she could have a notebook when her writing improved. She was deeply hurt. Sarojini Naidu sent her a notebook and Shushila took it to Kasturiba Gandhi, who refused to take it and quietly went and kept it among Gandhi's book. Everyone, including Gandhi, who realized his mistake, tried to persuade her to write in a notebook, but she replied in a dignified manner, "What do I need a book for?" She was simple and gentle, and in her gentleness one can see the strength that came through. Over the years, she kept pace with her husband and different roles he was performing. She supported him in his quest for social, economic and political equality for Indians in India and before that in South Africa. In fact, historians point out that she was among the first satyagrahis or non-violent resistors sent from Phoenix into Transvaal to protest the decision of South African government to declare all non-Christian marriages as null and void. In 1914, when Gandhi and Kasturiba permanently returned to India and Gandhi entered the Indian political scene in 1917, she became more of a political actor. Gandhi in his own biography spoke about it. According to my earlier experience, she was very obstinate. In spite of all my pressure, she would do as she wished. This led to a short or long periods of estrangement between us. But as my public life expanded, my wife bloomed forth and deliberately lost herself in my work. Her commitment to the freedom struggle was not just part of the support she extended to Mahatma Gandhi, but something she felt deeply. Aparna Basu narrates, after his release, Gandhi was invited to Shimla for the talks with the Viceroy, and Kasturiba Gandhi accompanied him. She was invited by Lady Wellington to the Viceroyal Lodge. This was the first time the Viceroy had invited the wife of an Indian leader, and Kasturiba Gandhi went accompanied by Anusuya Sarabai, who would act as the interpreter. When Lady Wellington said that she would like some crows, hand-spun khadi that Gandhi had popularized, Kasturiba said that she would send her some. "I want to get in closer touch with the Indian people that way," said Viceroy. "Could you send me some maav?" "Certainly, I'll send you lots of maav. And by the way, I like your idea of getting closer touch with the Indian people by sampling our homespun materials. You would also know them better if you lived down in the plains. where they dwell, instead of up here on the mountain heights, said Kasturiba. Kasturiba Gandhi first involved herself in politics in South Africa in 1904, when with her husband and others, she established the Phoenix settlement near Durban. In 1913, she took part in protests against ill treatment of Indian immigrants in South Africa, for which she was arrested, and on September 23, 1913, was sentenced to hard labor. While in prison, she led other women in prayer and encouraged educated women to teach the uneducated women how to read and write. Kasturiba and Gandhi left South Africa in July 1914 and returned to India. In spite of Kasturiba's chronic bronchitis, she continued to take part in civil actions and protests across India and often took her husband's spot when he was in prison. The majority of her time was dedicated to helping out and serving in ashrams. Here, Kasturiba was referred to as Ba or Mother because she served as mother of the ashrams in India. A point of difference between Kasturiba and Mahatma Gandhi was the treatment of their children in their ashram. Gandhi believed that their sons did not deserve special treatment, while Kasturiba Gandhi felt that Gandhi neglected them. In 1917, Kasturiba Gandhi worked on welfare of women in Champaran, Bihar, where Gandhi was working with indigo farmers. She taught women hygiene, discipline, health, and reading and writing. In 1922, she participated in Satyagraha movement in Borsad, Gujarat. Even though she was in poor health, she did not take part in Gandhi's famous Salt March in 1930, but continued to take part in many civil disobedience campaigns and marches. As a result, she was arrested and jailed on numerous occasions. In 1939, Kasturiba took part in non-violent protests against British rule in Rajkot. After the women in the city specialty asked her to advocate for them, Kasturiba was arrested once again and kept in solitary confinement for a month. Her health worsened, but she continued to fight for independence. In 1942, she was arrested again, and along with Gandhi and other freedom fighters for participating in Quit India movement, she was imprisoned in Aga Khan Palace in Pune. On the evening of 22nd February 1944, Kasturiba Gandhi breathed her last at Aga Khan Palace detention camp on Mahatma Gandhi's lap and was cremated in the compound of the detention camp on 23rd February 1944. Her husband sat watching the funeral pyre till the end, and when asked by someone to get rest, he remarked, "This is the final parting, the end of 62 years of shared life. Let me stay here till the cremation is over." That evening, after the prayer, he remarked, "I cannot imagine the life without Ba." Gandhi wrote that Kasturiba Gandhi was not behind him in any respect. If anything, she stood above him. But for her unfailing cooperation, I might have been in abyss. She helped me to keep wide awake and true to my vows. She stood by me in all political fights and never hesitated to take the plunge. In the current sense of word, she was uneducated, but to my mind, she was a model of true education. She was a devout Vaishnava, but she had obliterated all feeling of caste from her mind and regarded a Harijan girl with no less affection than her own children. She personified the Kasturiba Gandhi ideal of which Narasimha Mehta had sung in Vaishnava Jana hymn. There were occasions when I was engaged in a grim wrestle with death. During my Aga Khan Palace fast, I literally came out of death's jaw. But she shed not a tear, never lost hope or courage, but prayed to God with all her soul. Sarojini Naidu described her as the living symbol of Indian womanhood. Never once did her feet flutter or her heart quail on the steep path of perpetual sacrifice, which was her portion in the wake of the great man whom she loved and served and followed with such surpassing courage, faith and devotion. She had passed from mortality to immortality and taken her rightful place in the valiant assembly of beloved heroines.